guys, I'm Aussie Villain, and welcome to my Football Manager 2021 contracts tutorial. Now what we're going to do today is, this episode is just go through how you would offer a player a contract and all the different contract options that you have. Now what we're picking up from here is, if you saw the transfer tutorial, is trying to get Mason Mount to sign for Barcelona for some reason. We last time agreed a $90 million transfer fee, so go and check that out if you want to see how we got to this. Now, one thing I did flag up in that, but I'll flag it up again here. If you go to transfer, ask agent about availability. You'll see here from the scouting report, we know roughly what we should be expecting. Now, it's costing us a little bit more than 86 million, but we're only paying 70 million up front. If we go and have a quick look at ask agent's availability, again, you can see here we're expecting a wage of 100 grand a week, which is a little bit more than what the scouting report said. You can see again we got slightly up to the higher end of the transfer, so maybe I didn't do a great job in negotiating that, but that's what we're roughly expecting here. So if we go back, and you always want to do the negotiations yourself, never let anybody else do it, because the contracts you can get stuck with sometimes is just unbelievable. So we can see here the wage. He wants to be an important player. The wages between 90 and 120 grand. So we'll see if we can get him close to the 90 grand. Now, this is the first screen that you get, obviously, and this is the promises screen. So he wants to be an important player. Always try and talk them down as low as possible, just so that if you don't play them, they don't kick off about it. So we'll try and get him as a regular starter. Try not to make promises if you can help it, because then you just got to stick to them. So he's happy to come as a regular starter and not play his position. It's amazing how often that'll happen. The other promises, you can see all the different promises here. Never add a promise. I would suggest only what they ask for. And if they need a little bit of convincing, then maybe you start offering some of these. But typically, don't offer any promises. And if you can get rid of them, then do that as well. So that's that finalized. Let's go and negotiate a contract here. Now, he was the lower end of 95. This is, again, what the scouting report suggested. Again, if you want to try and keep your weekly wages down as low as possible. So we'll try and be cheeky, give him 85. Now, the signing on fee, this is going to come out, I believe, of the the transfer budget. So again, if you have a big transfer budget, don't worry about it, but always try and bring it down a little bit. The agent fee, I believe that comes out of the transfer budget as well. So try and bring that down as much as possible as well. And then we'll go and have a look at the bonuses. These are obviously the ways that you can keep the weekly wage down. Now, I always think offering a bonus incentivized contract is good, because A, it keeps the weekly wage budget down, and B, you're only paying players when they play well for you. So the appearance fee is exactly what it suggests. It's making an appearance, whether it's a starting appearance, off the bench. You've got to be a little bit careful with these, because they can very, very quickly bankrupt the club. But if it keeps the weekly wage down, then that's fine. So we'll try and leave that at 20 grand. The other bonuses here, goal bonus and assist bonus, as advertised, exactly what they suggest, per goal, per assist. Particularly for strikers and creative players, these can be useful bonuses. Given that we're trying to keep his weekly wage down, we'll add both of those. We'll try and get him for 13, just because it's there and I'm lazy. Team of the Year bonus, I always think, again, it's exactly as advertised, max that mofo out, because how many players realistically are you going to get in Team of the Year? And if they're getting there, they're doing, they've had a good season for you, so it's probably worth it. So I always max that out to try and to keep this weekly wage down. Let's go to 80. Let's really try and cheap him out here. Next one, international cap bonus, exactly as advertised. I tried not to worry about that too much. But if you need extra money to get a signing across the line, by all means, add it. The next one down here was unused substitute. This, again, exactly as advertised, what they get paid, even if they just sit on the bench. So try and keep it as low as possible. Get rid of it if you can. But again, because we're trying to cheap him out on wages, I mean, especially someone that's going to be considered a first-team player, usually they're going to play or they're going to be rested. The only thing you want to be careful about is if you are resting players, just be aware of what this is. You don't want to have a bench that's costing you 100 grand a game because you're trying to rest players. So that can be a little bit hit or miss there. Now, bonuses for competitions, you can see here. I mean, again, you pay them compared to what level of a competition you get to. So Champions League for Barcelona, that's all what that is. So in this case, winning it 350 grand, that's fine. If we win it, that's fine. First division, again, you can see here, avoiding relegation. I mean, for Barcelona, you wouldn't want to be giving that out. You'd only really want to be giving it out for winning it, if at all, to be honest. But if you're a club that's trying to break into the Champions League, offering a bonus for getting there is probably a good idea to keep the players motivated to do that. And Spanish Cup, I mean, you'd only ever want to do it at a club like Barcelona for winning it. And to be honest, I mean, it's there. You can leave it, but I mean, I don't particularly care about winning it, so it's there. It's there as a good option to kind of help reduce player this actual wage. So this brings us to clauses, and there are more clauses this FM than there have been ever before. The first one is yearly wage rise. I always try and get away with not offering this. Now, of course, if you don't want something, I'll use another example here. We'll get rid of the Spanish Cup one. If you don't want something to be in there, then remove and exclude. It means that it's taken off the table. It cannot be off. They cannot put it back in there. But I always try and get rid of the yearly wage increase, because if you have a whole squad that's going up 10% every year, your wage budget can get out of control quite quickly. So try and get away with not doing it, but sometimes you just kind of have to do it. Top division relegation wage drop. I usually back myself not to get relegated, and if I am going to get relegated, I'm probably going to get sacked anyway, so I don't particularly care. But if you are a club that, say, just got promoted, maybe promoted before you were expected to, and you're trying to sign the big name on big wages to keep you in the Premier League or whatever league it may be, then you might want to add this and see how you go. Now, if you want it to be there, no questions asked, click this little lock thing there. That means that it's there. It's a red line, and it is going to be it's going to be part of the contract if they want to join. So, but for a club like Barcelona, obviously, there's no need for that. And typically, as I said, I try and back myself to stay up anyway. Wage after reaching games for the club. Now, this is one that typically younger players will want. I always think if they're going to be there 15 and 30 games, and you don't want it to go up too much, but if they've played 30 games for you, that they're probably becoming a fairly regular member of your team, and so you then are probably going to want to increase their wages. For someone like Mason Mount, who is coming in, if he does come in, is going to be here as a first team player anyway, they're not going to want that. You don't need to offer it to them, really, because it's only going to drive up this weekly wage thing. Season landmark for goal bonus. This is one of my favorites. Now, you can see that the new ones for this FM are assist bonuses and goals and assists combined. Now, the way that I've always worked this is for strikers. I've always gone 20 goals and 30 goals I'll do that here so we can see as two sort of bonus marks. 20 goals, I always put whatever the default is. 30 goals, I always max it out. Again, to keep this wage down, you're going to have to offer bonuses, and this is a good one because it means they're scoring goals for you. For creative players like Mason Mount, then perhaps the combined goals and assist is maybe better. And you can stick with 20 and 30, because I used to, for wingers, have 15 and 25 as goals, and then for midfielders, just 15 goals. But this goals and assist here is, again, it's a nice one. So what I'll do from now on, to be honest, is, again, 15 and 30, and give them some proper bonuses, and there we go. So if they're performing, they're getting paid. If they're not performing, then they get their miserly 80 grand a week. So that is that one. 1 year extension after the amount of games on a final season. Now, this is a good one, I find, if you are signing an older player and you're not really sure if they're going to be good for a second season or a third season. What this will mean is if they play, say, 20 games, I think it's league games, after league games. If they play 20 league games, then their contract will go up another year. So as I said, for older players, if you sign them on, say, a 1 year deal, you're not sure if you're going to get a second season out of them, add this. If they play 20 games, then you'll get them for a second season. If they don't, because they're not really good enough, then they won't. Their contract will just expire after whatever the agreed term is up here. So that's that one. Again, contract extension after league games and avoiding relegation in that final season. Again, this could be a one if you're getting that highly paid older player in. If you avoid relegation and they're playing for you, then they can have another year. If not, then they leave. And again, if you get relegated, it gets an easy way just to get the wages off the books after a season. Next one down here we go to is an optional extension by a club. Now, if you have a young player, particularly if you're a smaller club where they might start to outgrow you. This can be a good one to add in. So you might usually 2 or 3 years for when someone first turns professional. If you can add this in, and it just means that you'll have an option. I'll show you where. Actually, can I do it now? It'll be up here. It'll be one of the options here will be trigger extension. So that's always for a young player. Now I've got to try and get back into this thing, don't I? That's always a good thing to add into younger players' contracts. As I said, particularly if you're a small team and they're going to outgrow you, or even if you are if you're a bigger team and you're not sure, you got that guy that's kind of 3-star potential, but he might be a little bit better than that. Sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal and then add on the extra year. And if he's good, you can trigger him. If you're still unsure, you can trigger him. And if not, then you can let him go. So that's that one. Next up is the minimum release fee. Now there are some countries, Spain is one of them, where you have to have a minimum release fee. Ideally, you don't want a minimum release fee if you can help it. And if you do have to have one, you want it to be pretty much as high as you can go. What I will do sometimes is, in order to discourage the board from sort of stepping in and selling a player, is have a fee that when you sign a player, you're like, you know what, I would accept this. So for example, FM20, I was at Bala Town. I had some strikers. I think I put a 50 or 60 million pound release fee in, because when I signed, I was like, you know what, if I get 60 million for this guy, I'll be happy. When the bids start coming in, I changed my mind. But what it did is it stopped the board interfering and selling players from under me. So it can be useful for that. But typically, if a player's using your club as a stepping stone, they're going to want this. And you're just basically going to want it as high as you can get it. For the case of Mason Mount, if we get 244 million, we will go dancing to the bank and drive him to the airport ourselves. But that's the case with the minimum release fees. Relegation release fee. So this is if you were to get relegated, then this becomes a release fee. Typically, players will only want it if you're in danger of going down. It can be a good thing too if you ever do get relegated. I always just back myself not to get relegated, and if I do, then I figure I'm going to get sacked anyway. But it can be a good one again if you've signed that player that's really you can only afford in the top flight. You can add this, and then they'll be able to leave, and it might be the sort of thing that gets that signing across the line as well. So that's the relegation release fee. Now you've got the sell-on fee percentage and the sell-on fee profit percentage. Now, if you watch the transfer tutorial, this is very similar to what you would offer with a club for a sell-on fee. I always think you don't want to be giving the player. This is how they make their money here. They don't get transfer. They don't get any of the transfer. That's my own personal rule. I've always taken it off. The only time I've ever left it on is if it was an absolute. I was really, really struggling to get a player anyway, and it got them into the club. So that's the only time I've ever left it in. But my general rule is just take it out. Don't give them the option. This is how they make their money, not from the transfer. So let's go and see how good our negotiation has been here. Not particularly, as it's he still wants his 100 grand. So let's see if we can get him down to 90. Again, I want to try and get rid of that if I can. He wants his goals and assists for 20 and 30. For lower amounts there, that's fine. I'm okay with that. That you see the signing on fee and the agent fee has gone back up. Can we get him for 90? We got him for 90. So there we go. We've saved 10 grand a week. And to be honest, like I say, if he's performing, he'll make more money than that, but only if he performs. And that's the way I like to offer out my contract. So I hope this has been useful for you. If it has, make sure you hit thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you next time. I have some Let's Plays going. So make sure you check out the channel if you are new. And I will see you for the next tutorial or the next Let's Play video. Take care.